Southern England, May 28, 1944, 2:17 a.m. The blackout curtains are nailed tight against the windows. No moonlight, no street lamps, just the soft scratch of pencil on paper. Inside a cramped railway office near Southampton docks, the air smells of damp wool, cigarette smoke, and cold tea gone stale hours ago. A single desk lamp hums. Under it sits Captain E.H. Roberts, Royal Engineers. Not a battlefield commander. Not a pilot. Not a man anyone would recognize in a parade. Just a clerk. Sleeves rolled, tie loosened, eyes red from 30 straight hours awake. And in front of him, England, spread across the desk in ink and thread and grease pencil. A giant railway map covered in colored pins. Red for infantry, blue for armor, yellow for ammunition, green for fuel. Thousands of pins. So many the paper sags under their weight. Somewhere outside, a freight engine whistles in the distance. Load long. Another train moving through the dark. Roberts doesn't look up. He's counting seconds. 2 minutes late, he mutters. He adjusts a note in the margin. Then draws a new line. Because 2 minutes late here means 5 minutes late at Portsmouth. Means 10 minutes late at the docks. Means a landing craft leaving half empty. Means men arriving in Normandy without artillery. Means... He stops the thought. His pencil snaps in his fingers. He reaches for another. Around him, 3 other officers sleep sitting up in chairs, papers stuck to their faces, boots still on. The room hasn't slept in days. Because in less than 2 weeks, 150,000 men have to move. Not march, not drive. Move by rail. Across every track in southern England. Without collision. Without delay. Without traffic jam. And without the Germans ever realizing what's happening. Outside, England looks calm. Villages quiet. Fog rolling over the fields. But beneath that calm, the entire country is vibrating. Columns of Sherman tanks rumble through country roads under canvas covers. Convoys of trucks carry ammunition crates stamped .3006 ball and 75 mh. Airfields are packed wingtip to wingtip with C-47 Dakotas. And every single one of those units has one destination. The Channel Coast. For something the world has never seen before. Operation Overlord. The invasion of France. The biggest amphibious assault in human history. And the truth. It doesn't start with generals. It doesn't start with Churchill or Eisenhower. It starts here, with this tired man. And a pencil. Because if even one rail line clogs, if 2 trains meet nose to nose on a single track, if one armored division arrives 6 hours late, the beaches will run red before the first shot is fired. Roberts rubs his eyes, then studies the timetable again. Columns of numbers. Departure times down to the minute. Not hours. Minutes. Every train spaced exactly 7 minutes apart. Like a heartbeat. If one skips, everything collapses. He checks Portsmouth, then Bournemouth, then Reading, then Bristol, all feeding into the south like veins into a heart. The complexity is insane. Some trains carry tanks, too heavy for certain bridges. Some carry fuel, too dangerous to stop near towns. Some carry Canadian troops who have never even seen the ocean before. All of them must arrive at the docks in perfect sequence. Infantry first, then engineers, then armor, then ammunition. Because if the tanks arrive before the fuel, They're just steel statues. If the infantry arrives before the landing craft, they wait, and waiting means exposure, and exposure means German reconnaissance planes. So every piece must click into place, like gears in a watch. Tick, tick, tick. A young lieutenant stumbles awake. Sir, why not just send them whenever the track's clear? Roberts doesn't look up, because he already knows the answer. If you leave it to chance, he says quietly, you get chaos. He taps the map. We don't have room for chaos. Silence. Outside, another whistle. Another train moving exactly when it's supposed to. Exactly where it's supposed to. He checks his pocket watch. 2:31 a.m. Right on schedule. For the first time all night, he allows himself the smallest nod. It's working. The entire country is moving. And no one notices. No crowds. No headlines. Just trains in the dark. Quiet. Invisible. Deadly precise. But then, a phone rings. Sharp, violent. Too loud. Everyone jolts awake. Robert stares at it. Something in his gut tightens. Rail control doesn't call unless something's wrong. Very wrong. He lifts the receiver. Listens. His face drains of color. Because somewhere north of London, a troop train has stalled on the line. And behind it, 5 more are already coming. On the same track. 7 minutes apart. Like dominoes. And if one hits, the entire invasion schedule collapses. Robert slowly reaches for his pencil. Get me every signal station between Reading and Southampton, he says. His voice calm, but his hands shaking. Because tonight, 150,000 lives depend on one decision. And the clock is still ticking. The receiver crackles in Robert's ear. Static shouting, steam hissing somewhere in the background. Then a voice strained, breathless. Sir, freight engine 4821. Boiler pressure drop. She's dead on the line just outside Didcot. Won't move. Roberts closes his eyes. Didcot. He knows that junction like the back of his hand. 2 main lines feeding south. 1 branch for heavy armor. 1 for troop carriers. Both single track for nearly 6 miles. A choke point. The worst possible place to die. How long, he asks. Could be hours, sir. Hours. Behind that stalled train. 5 more. 2 loaded with infantry. 1 with Sherman tanks chained to flatbeds. 2 carrying ammunition. Thousands of men. If they bunch up, if German reconnaissance spots it at dawn, they'll see something impossible to hide. A traffic jam of war. The biggest invasion in history, exposed from the sky like a neon sign. Roberts doesn't shout. Doesn't panic. He just stares at the map. Colored threads stretch from the Midlands down to the Channel like arteries. All converging. All depending on that one thin black line through Didcot. Break it. And the heart stops. You can almost hear the ticking, he mutters. Not a clock. The timetable. 7-minute gaps. Every train precisely slotted. Like teeth in a gear. Miss one tooth. The whole mechanism shatters. Signal control, he says sharply. Wake everyone. Men scramble. Chairs scrape. Maps unroll. A corporal flicks on another lamp. The room floods with harsh yellow light. Roberts moves fast now. Finger sliding across the map. If 4821 is dead, we don't clear it, we bypass it. But sir, the lieutenant says, confused, there's no bypass. Roberts doesn't answer. Because there is. Not officially, but there are freight spurs, abandoned sidings, coal routes not used since the 30s. Ugly tracks, slow tracks, tracks no one wanted. Tonight, their salvation. Route the 2nd and 3rd trains through the Oxford goods line, 30 miles longer. That'll delay them. Then we compress spacing south of Reading. That's dangerous. Everything tonight is dangerous, Roberts snaps. Silence. He softens. We just have to be dangerous carefully. Phones ring. Operators relay orders station to station. Switchmen half asleep in wooden huts suddenly leap to life, throwing iron levers that haven't moved in years. You can almost picture it. Signals clanking in the dark. Lanterns swinging. Steel rails groaning as points shift. Somewhere in the countryside, a troop train slows, then turns unexpectedly onto an old freight route overgrown with weeds. Inside the cars, American soldiers look at each other. Hey, this ain't the right way south. Nobody answers. Because nobody knows. They just feel the change. Feel the detour. But the train keeps moving. That's all that matters. Back in the office, sweat beads on Robert's forehead. He recalculates times in pencil. Erases. Writes again. Every minute counts. He shortens stops. Cuts refueling windows. Stacks departures tighter. 6 minutes apart now. Then 5. Risky. Too close and you get collisions. Too far and the docks sit empty. There's no room for error. Not tonight. Not with Operation Neptune already loading ships. Down at Southampton, dock workers are waiting. Landing craft are lined up like teeth along the harbor. Empty. Waiting for men who must arrive at exact times. Too early, they sit exposed. Too late, the whole invasion wave collapses. This isn't transportation anymore. It's choreography. A dance of steel. And Roberts is conducting it with a pencil. Another call. Sir, 3rd train through Oxford reports heavy smoke. Think the brakes are overheating. Roberts stares at the ceiling. For a moment, just a moment. The weight hits him. Thousands of young men. Some barely 20. Laughing, playing cards, writing letters home. They think their fate will be decided on a beach in France. Not here. Not because of rail spacing. Not because one engine coughed at the wrong time. They will never know this room exists. Never know his name. If he succeeds, nobody notices. If he fails, everyone dies. Strange kind of war. He exhales. Tell them reduce speed 5 miles per hour. Safety first. I'll adjust the rest. He scratches new numbers. Rebuilds the entire sequence like domino falling in reverse. One move at a time. Painfully slow. Painfully precise. Minutes pass. Then another whistle in the distance. Then another. Then another. Not crashing. Not bunching. Flowing. Like water finding a new path. The lieutenant checks his watch. Sir, they're clearing Didcot. Roberts doesn't react. Next one. 5 minutes behind on schedule. And the tanks. Rerouted, still making Portsmouth by dawn. Silence. The room breathes again. Not victory. Just survival. For now. Roberts leans back for the first time in hours. His uniform smells like smoke and ink. Hands stained gray with pencil lead. He looks at the map. All those pins. All those lives. Still moving. Still synchronized. Like clockwork. Invisible. He allows himself one small thought. Maybe, just maybe, we can actually pull this off. But then the door bursts open. A dispatch rider soaked in rain. Helmet under his arm. Face pale. Captain, message from SHAEF headquarters. Robert straightens. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force doesn't send couriers at 3 a.m. for good news. The rider hands him the envelope. Stamped red. Urgent. Roberts tears it open. Reads one line. And suddenly, everything he just calculated, every timetable, every perfectly spaced train, means nothing. Because Eisenhower has changed the date. The invasion might move. By days. Or hours. And now the entire schedule has to be rebuilt. From scratch. Tonight 4:42 a.m. Rain taps against the blackout windows like impatient fingers. The envelope trembles slightly in Robert's hand. Not fear. Exhaustion. Maybe both. He reads the line again, just to be sure his brain isn't inventing it. Weather uncertainty. All embarkation schedules must remain flexible. Assault date may advance or delay 24-48 hours. Prepare immediate alternates. Flexible. The word feels almost insulting. There is nothing flexible about 150,000 men. Nothing flexible about tanks, landing craft, fuel dumps, tides, moonlight, and rail lines that only run one direction at a time. Flexible is for office work. This is surgery. And someone just told the surgeon the patient might show up sometime. The lieutenant watches his face. Sir, what does it say? Roberts folds the paper slowly. They don't know when we're invading anymore. Silence. The kind that settles heavy. Because everyone in that room knows what it means. Every train they've carefully spaced. Every 7-minute interval. Every reroute and recalculation. Worthless. If the date shifts even one day. The ports clog. Food runs out. Units arrive too early and sit exposed. Or too late and miss their landing craft. Worse. German reconnaissance planes fly daily. If thousands of troops suddenly loiter near the coast with nowhere to go, it won't take Berlin long to guess. Surprise dies. And without surprise, D-Day becomes a massacre. Roberts walks back to the map. Stares at it like it betrayed him. Colored pins everywhere. Perfect. Precise. Useless. He whispers it under his breath. Start over. The lieutenant blinks. Sir. We build 2 schedules. 2. One if we go early, one if we go late. That's impossible. Roberts looks at him. Eyes bloodshot. Voice calm. So is invading France. Nobody laughs. Because he's right. Outside, dawn is creeping in, a gray smear along the horizon. The night trains are still moving. Still flowing south. But now, they might have nowhere to unload. He grabs a fresh sheet of paper. Draws a new grid. Columns times routes. His pencil moves faster now. More aggressive. Like a man digging a trench before artillery lands. If we advance 24 hours, he mutters, we compress the Midlands departures, stack infantry closer, delay heavy armor until nightfall. He sketches arrows. Crosses out lines. Adds notes in the margins. Fuel first. Engineers second. Infantry third. Tanks last. Because you don't send steel into France without boots to protect it. And you don't send boots without ammo. Every decision is life or death. Every eraser mark feels like gambling with blood. The corporal hands him fresh tea. He forgets to drink it. Hours pass. No one sits. No one talks much. Just pencils scratching, telephones ringing, station masters being shaken awake across England. You can almost see them. Tiny rural platforms in the fog. Men in heavy coats answering ringing phones. What do you mean cancel the 0610? Reroute where? At this hour. Orders ripple outward like shockwaves. Because somewhere in the English countryside, thousands of American and Canadian soldiers are already on trains. Boots on kit bags. Helmets hanging from hooks. Some sleeping. Some writing letters home they might never mail. They don't know the date might change. They don't know their train might stop halfway and reverse. All they know is movement. South. Toward the sea. Toward something big. Something final. Back in the office, Robert's map starts to look insane. 3 different colored pencils now. Red for primary. Blue for delay. Green for early assault. Threads crisscross like spiderwebs. A beautiful mess. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was chaos. But he sees the pattern. He has to. Because nobody else does. This is his battlefield. Not mud. Not bullets. Minutes. And miles of track. The lieutenant rubs his eyes. How can you even keep this straight, sir? Roberts doesn't look up. You don't. He taps his temple. You feel it. Feel it. Like a conductor hears when an orchestra drifts off tempo. Like a mechanic hears when an engine misfires. He feels when something's wrong. And right now, something feels very wrong. Another call comes through. Portsmouth. Captain, if they delay the assault, we can't keep 30,000 men sitting on the docks. There's nowhere to put them. Of course there is. The ports were designed for cargo. Not armies. They'll have to stage inland. Hide in forests. Move only at night. Which means more trains. More complexity. More chances to fail. Roberts pinches the bridge of his nose. For a second, the room spins. He hasn't slept in almost 40 hours. He imagines what the generals are doing right now. Big maps. Big rooms. Discussing tides and moonlight. Cloud cover. Naval bombardment windows. Important things. Heroic things. Meanwhile, he's here arguing over siding capacity near Reading. Funny, isn't it? How wars are decided. Not just by courage, but by whether a switchman throws the right lever at 3 a.m. Suddenly, another courier bursts in. Breathless again. Different envelope. Different stamp. Roberts doesn't even feel surprised anymore. He opens it. Reads. Stops. Then reads again. The lieutenant watches him carefully. Sir. Roberts lowers the paper. Voice barely above a whisper. They've narrowed it. To what? A single night. The room freezes. 1 night, he repeats. A 6-hour window based on tides and moonlight. Which means there is no flexibility. No wiggle room. No second try. Everything must arrive. Exactly on time. Or thousands of men step into the surf alone. Roberts looks back at the map. All those lines. All those lives. Balanced on 1 night. 1 chance. 1 schedule. And now, it has to be perfect. June 4th, 1944, 11:18 p.m. The rain has stopped. The sky over southern England hangs low and heavy, clouds drifting like smoke over the fields. From a distance, the countryside looks peaceful. Farmhouses dark. Hedgerows still. church towers silhouetted against the stars. But listen closely. You can hear it. A low iron heartbeat. Clank. Hiss. Whistle. Steel on steel. Trains. Everywhere. Moving through the darkness without lights. No headlamps, no station lamps, no cigarettes near the tracks. Total blackout. Because somewhere above the clouds, Luftwaffe reconnaissance planes still prowl. And if they see this, if they see the scale of what's happening, the invasion dies before it begins. Inside the rail control office, Robert stands over the map again. But it's different now. Cleaner. Final. One color. One plan. The plan. The chosen night. June 5th drifting into June 6th. 6 hours of tide and moonlight. That's all Eisenhower gets. That's all Roberts gets too. He checks his pocket watch. 11:19. Right on cue, a phone rings. Reading departure confirmed. Infantry column moving. Another. Sherman tanks leaving Bristol, 24 flatbeds. Another. Canadian artillery clearing Swindon Junction. Each call is like a pulse. Alive. On time. The timetable is no longer numbers on paper. It's real now. You can almost see it from above. Hundreds of trains crawling across England like glowing veins. All flowing south. All converging on Portsmouth, Southampton, Weymouth, Plymouth. If even one stalls, the whole organism chokes. Roberts hasn't sat in hours. His jacket hangs on a chair. Shirt sleeves rolled. Hands black with graphite and grease. He looks less like an officer now. More like a factory worker. Which in a way he is. Manufacturing time. The lieutenant studies the board. Sir, spacing is tighter than we've ever run it. Roberts nods. 4 minutes apart now. 4. If a signalman hesitates, if a brake sticks, if a single cow wanders onto the line. Collision. Fireball. Headlines. Disaster. But there's no choice. Too many men. Too little track. So they run it razor thin. Back to back to back. Like teeth on a zipper. Somewhere near Oxford, an American troop train rattles past a sleeping village. Inside, helmets clink softly. A young private stares out the window. Sees nothing but darkness and the faint glow of another train ahead. So close he could throw a rock and hit it. Feels like we're tailgating, he jokes. No one laughs. Because everyone feels it. The tension. Something big is happening. Bigger than they understand. They don't know a man named Roberts has placed their train exactly 4 minutes behind another one. 4 minutes that might save their lives. Back at the docks. Chaos. Organized chaos. Dockworkers shouting. Chains clanking. Sherman tanks rolling down ramps onto landing craft. Boots splashing through puddles. Engines coughing to life. Every unit arriving exactly when it's supposed to. Infantry first. Then engineers. Then armor. Just like the plan. No waiting. No pileups. No confusion. They step off the train. Walk straight onto ships. Like they rehearsed it 100 times. Because Roberts rehearsed it on paper 100 times. A colonel at Portsmouth checks his watch and mutters, almost impressed. Bloody hells, they're arriving like clockwork. Clockwork. He has no idea how right he is. Back in the office, Roberts finally takes a sip of cold tea. It tastes awful. He doesn't care. Another call. Fuel convoy delayed 2 minutes near Basingstoke. 2 minutes. 2 minutes is an eternity now. He immediately recalculates downstream arrivals, shifts 3 departures, signals 2 sightings, moves 1 ammunition train ahead. Dominoes. Always dominoes. Fix 1. 3 more move. But somehow, it works. The flow never stops. You start to realize something strange. No one is cheering. No speeches. No glory. Just quiet competence. Hundreds of railway workers who will never get medals. Switchmen. Conductors. Signal clerks. All moving this invisible army with nothing but whistles and lanterns. It's almost beautiful. War reduced to pure logistics. At 2:40 a.m., Robert steps outside for the first time all night. Cold air hits his face. The sky is clearing. Moonlight breaking through. Perfect visibility. Perfect tide. Perfect weather. The kind of night you'd choose if you were invading a continent. He hears another train in the distance. Then another. Layered whistles overlapping like music. For the first time, he allows himself to breathe. They did it. They actually did it. 150,000 men. Thousands of vehicles. Millions of tons of supplies. All moving without a single traffic jam. Without a single catastrophic delay. An entire army flowing through England like water through pipes. Invisible. Silent. Precise. And nobody will ever know his name. He's okay with that. Because if everything goes right, history won't remember the trains. It'll remember the beaches. Omaha. Utah. Gold. Juno. Sword. That's fine. Let them have the glory. His war ends here. On paper. But then, the door behind him slams open. A runner shouts, "Captain, urgent from SHAF." Roberts turns, heart pounding again. Because in war, you never say we're done. Not until it's over. And it's not over yet. The message is short. Just 4 words. Invasion postponed, storm incoming. Everything stops. Every train. Every schedule. Every perfect line of clockwork steel. And suddenly, the entire army has nowhere to go. June 5, 1944, 4:12 a.m. The wind hits first. Cold, wet, violent. It slams against the windows hard enough to rattle the glass. Somewhere outside, a loose sheet of metal bangs like artillery. Then thunder rolls across the channel. Not distant. Right overhead. The kind of storm that swallows ships. The kind of sea that flips landing craft like toys. The kind of weather that drowns men before they ever see the enemy. Inside the rail office, nobody speaks. The message sits on the table. 4 words. Invasion postponed, storm incoming. All that work. All that precision. All those trains timed down to the minute. Now suddenly, meaningless. Robert stares at the map. It looks different now. Not elegant. Not clockwork. Just fragile. Like glass. Because outside, tens of thousands of men are already on the move. Some trains halfway to the coast. Some already unloading. Some ships already packed tight with soldiers seasick and waiting for departure. And now, stop everything. But how do you stop something this big? How do you tell an entire country to freeze? You can't just hit a brake. You have to bleed the motion away slowly, or it tears itself apart. The lieutenant whispers, "Sir, what do we do?" Roberts doesn't hesitate. Reverse the flow. Silence. Reverse the entire invasion. Yes. The words feel insane, like trying to turn the ocean around. But there's no alternative. If they keep moving toward the ports, the harbors will choke. Men will sit exposed for days. Food runs out. Morale collapses. German scouts notice. So instead, everything must vanish. Hide. Scatter. Disappear back into England like it never happened. He grabs the phone. Signal Portsmouth. Stop unloading non-essential cargo. Another. Divert incoming infantry to inland holding zones. Another. Send armor north to temporary depots. Use forest sidings. No lights. Orders fly. Faster than before. But this time it's uglier. Messier. Because moving forward is easy. Everyone going one direction. Revering. That's chaos. Two-way traffic on lines designed for one. Trains crossing paths. Engines backing up in the dark. One mistake and steel meets steel. Back in Portsmouth, dock officers groan. They just finished loading a full company of Rangers. Now they have to unload them. Men stumble down ramps confused. Thought we were going tonight. Yeah, what the hell? Nobody answers. Because nobody knows. Even Eisenhower doesn't know. He's gambling with weather reports and tides. Waiting for a gap in the storm. Back inland, troop trains slow, then stop. Then reverse. The strange sensation makes men uneasy. It feels wrong. Like retreat. Like defeat. A sergeant mutters, feels like we're running away. They're not. But it feels that way. And feelings matter. Because tired, scared men start asking questions. Questions lead to rumors. Rumors lead to leaks. Leaks reach the enemy. So Roberts adds another instruction. Keep them moving, never stationary too long, rotate sidings. Motion hides scale. Stillness exposes it. He learned that months ago. The storm intensifies. Rain lashes sideways. Telegraph wires hum. Some lines go dead. For a terrifying 10 minutes, they lose contact with 3 trains near Salisbury. No one breathes. Then, static. Voices return. Still moving. Still safe. Roberts rubs his face. His skin feels like sandpaper. He hasn't slept in nearly 2 days now. His body aches. His eyes burn. But he can't stop. Because if he stops thinking, people die. That's the math. Simple. Brutal. By noon, the coast looks almost empty again. Like nothing happened. Landing craft tied down. Men hidden inland. Trains scattered across the countryside. The biggest invasion force ever assembled. Now invisible. Like a ghost. It's almost impressive. They built an army overnight. Then made it disappear by lunch. All without firing a shot. The lieutenant shakes his head. I don't understand how you keep this straight, sir. Robert stares at the map. Now covered in fresh eraser marks. Smudged. Ugly. But alive. You don't control war, he says quietly. You just keep it from collapsing. Then, another call. From SHAF. Different tone this time. Calmer. Measured. Whether officers have found something. A break in the storm. A narrow window. Maybe. Just maybe. Tomorrow night. June 6th. One chance. No postponement. No second reset. If they miss it, the tides won't align again for weeks. Which means the Germans reinforce. which means thousands more die. This is it. Final. Roberts looks at the ruined schedule. Everything scrambled. Everything scattered. And now, he has less than 24 hours to rebuild the greatest rail movement in history. Again, from nothing, he reaches for a fresh sheet of paper. His hand trembles, not from fear, from exhaustion, but he starts drawing anyway, because someone has to. And somehow, it always comes back to the pencil. June 5, 1944, 6:36 p.m. The storm is breaking. Clouds tear apart over southern England like ripped canvas. Patches of blue sky appear. Thin at first, then wider. The wind weakens. The rain turns to mist. Somewhere far off, you can hear it. Not thunder this time. Engines. Hundreds of them. Starting, one by one, like a giant machine waking up. Inside the rail control room, Roberts hasn't moved from the table in nearly 12 hours. Fresh timetables cover the desk. Stacks of them. Version after version after version. All crossed out. All abandoned. Until this one. The final one. He stares at it like a gambler staring at his last chip. This is it. No alternates. No backup dates. No flexibility. Just 6 hours of tide and moonlight. If they miss it, everything collapses. The door bursts open. A signals officer, breathless. SHAEF confirmation, sir. General Eisenhower's decision. The whole room stops. Even the phones seem quieter. The officer swallows. Operation Overlord goes tonight. Not tomorrow. Not maybe. Tonight. The words hit like electricity. For half a second, nobody moves. Then, the room explodes. Chairs scrape. Phones lift. Switchboards light up like Christmas trees. Men shouting station names. Ports, junctions, sidings. It feels less like an office now. More like a battlefield command post. Roberts doesn't shout. He just picks up the master phone. Voice calm. Execute schedule read. That's it. 2 words. Months of planning compressed into 2 words. Across southern England, signal huts come alive. Switchmen grab lanterns. Engines hiss to life. Drivers climb into cabs. And just like that, the army starts moving again. But this time, it's the real thing. No rehearsal. No postponement. No turning back. You can almost see it from above. Rail lines glowing in the dusk. Train after train sliding south. Perfect spacing. 4 minutes apart. Sometimes 3. Too close to fail. Too important to slow down. Inside one carriage, an American private tightens the strap on his helmet. He doesn't know why, but tonight feels different. Quieter. He looks out the window. Sees another train packing them in the dark. Full of tanks. Steel shapes under canvas. He whispers, "Guess this is it." Nobody argues. Down at Southampton, landing craft crews stand ready. Engines idling. Ramps down. Waiting. Then, right on time, the first infantry train arrives. Doors slide open. Boots hit concrete. Men march straight onto ships without hesitation. Like they've practiced this their whole lives. No crowding. No confusion. Just flow. Perfect flow. Dock officers glance at their watches. Bloody hell again, right on time. Next train. 7 minutes later. Engineers. Then artillery. Then fuel. Then Sherman's clanking down ramps like metal beasts. Exactly the order Roberts planned. Because if tanks arrive before fuel, they're useless. If ammo arrives late, men die. Every minute here equals blood somewhere else. And somehow, miraculously, it's working. Back in the office, Roberts listens to the calls like a doctor listening to a heartbeat. Portsmouth loading complete. Weymouth on schedule. Bristol armor arrived. No flatlines. No crashes. Just rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. He finally sits. Just for a second. His legs shake. 48 hours awake. Brain buzzing. Hands black with ink. He looks around the room. Nobody cheering. Nobody celebrating. Just tired men doing their jobs. Quiet heroes. Invisible. Because tomorrow, when history books talk about D-Day, they'll show beaches, explosions, machine guns. They won't show this room. They won't show pencils and timetables. They won't show the clerk who moved an army like chess pieces. And that's okay. Because war isn't only won by the men charging forward. Sometimes, it's won by the man who made sure they arrived. At 10:58 p.m., the last major troop train clears the final junction. The line south goes silent. Empty. Everything that needed to move has moved. Robert steps outside again. The sky is clear now. Moonlight silver on the fields. Perfect tide. Perfect night. In the distance, he hears ships. Hundreds of engines rumbling out into the channel. Low, steady, endless. Like thunder that never stops. He imagines them out there. Packed with the men he just guided. All of them trusting that everything behind them worked. And it did. For the first time in days. He allows himself a small smile. No traffic jams. No disasters. No missed arrivals. 150,000 men. Moved like clockwork. Not a single shot fired. His war is over. Their war is just beginning. He checks his watch. 12:01 a.m. June 6, 1944. D-Day. Somewhere across the water. The first shells are already falling. Roberts turns back toward the empty office. Lights still humming. Maps still pinned. Proof that sometimes history isn't decided by who pulls the trigger, but by who kept the trains running on time.